pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilman Thompson. Emily Baker. Here. Farrell. Here. Happy.
Here.
Keller.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Mayor Fallon.
Excuse. All right, any additions or amendments to the agenda?
I have one, ground networking is sick today and not be able to listen, so we'll have to put it back to next meeting.
It's removing 7B on the agenda. Right. We on item 3, adoption of consent.
We have to approve the-
Oh, sorry. We need a motion to approve the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda, subtracting 7B.
Sorry. Got a motion to approve the agenda with the removal of 7B, seconded by Councilmember Miller.
Councilmember Emily Baker.
Aye.
Farrell.
Aye.
Happy.
Aye.
Keller.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye. Motion passes. We're on to item 3, adoption of the consent agenda, and we have a
I just need a correction on one of the minutes, I saw the correction. It was on the 1/20/24 minutes in section 4, cert is actually spelled CERT, not SERT.
So item 4 of the minutes from January 22nd, 2024, correcting the abbreviation for CERT training should be spelled CERT, not SERT. Thank you. All right, we have a motion to adopt consent agenda.
I move to adopt the consent agenda, including the approval of minutes, January 22nd, 2024, with the amendment CERT. Approval of minutes, January 11, 2024, Joint Council Planning Commission meeting. Approval of minutes, January 29, 2024, Joint Council Tourism Committee meeting. And ratification of bills in the amount of $687,491.06.
I'm sorry. We got a motion to approve the consent agenda by Councilmember Emily Baker and seconded by Councilman Miller.
Councilmember Emily Baker.
Aye.
Farrell.
Aye.
Happy.
Aye.
Keller.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye. Motion passes. And we move on to item 4, appearance of interested citizens to share a variety of perspectives on issues facing their community. Ms. Pruitt.
There's a few things, reading through the bills, I'm just curious why, EMS has to pay to go across the bridge, the toll, it's something that council members can keep in their head when they're having these negotiations with the port. Also in the council packet on the line, this is like the second to the last page of the, financials, so somebody kind of needs to, when they scan those, needs to go through and make sure they went through and they didn't blur. And the city page, I did send an email to Jordan Bennett, is still broken, so when you go to the city council page and you push on agendas, in both spaces, it goes to 404 not here message. And also, when posting community applications online, personal information should be removed because in tonight's packet it was not removed, and phone number and email address and everything are including in the packet online, so. So somebody should just kind of go through and find to channel when they upload that and just make sure. Thank you. I didn't skip that.
That's all, right, before moving on to public hearings at 5. None? Item 5, public hearings.
Oh, no, I don't have it.
All right, action items, 6A, proclamation of support for the 2024 February County Police Program.
I'm Bonnie Withers, in the river. This is the third time I've come to, tell you about our Food River Reads book for the year. And you have the proclamation in front of you. I just wanted to tell you a little bit more about it. The book is entitled Beloved Beasts. The author is Michelle Nyhouse. And spelling for her name, but we're all reminded to remember it sounds like Nyhouse. And what she's done here, the subtitle is Fighting for Life in an Age of Extinction, and it's really about the conservation movement, what's happened starting way back, going forward, looking at the different people who were involved and the different organizations, looking at with a clear eye, some of the mistakes and missteps that were made along the way to get where we are today and still working toward, perfection, to really figure out how to deal with biodiversity to really make it all happen. She is, she has had several awards as a, journalist, science journalist. She's appeared in lots of big publications, and it's quite lovely that she lives right across from us over in White Salmon. So that has made it possible for us to have her involved more than we sometimes do with our other authors. So as you know, in the past, we put together a program of activities. There is a panel with people who are involved in some particular different little creatures or big creatures, like the wolverines. There's going to be a special presentation about the monarch butterflies and some opportunities for other conservation groups to to connect with people at that meeting. There's math making for kids. There's a very interesting evening of looking at film clips. I don't know how many of you saw American Buffalo, the new Ken Burns. It's 4 hours long. Well worth your time, fascinating. And in the second 2 hours piece of it, Michelle is featured several times. So I was most interested, I think, in the Buffalo chapter of anything else. And we have some clips from that we'll be looking at, and I believe she'll be there. We want to know what it's like to actually be working on a Ken Burns film, but apparently she never even saw him. That's how that went. And there'll be a field trip in the Upper Valley and several other things. I don't have a brochure for you tonight because our printer is sick. So we'll get, when we get them, certainly get them to you and get them to the library. The kickoff is March 2nd. And so that will be in Wood River as well as in Cascade Locks and in Parkdale. There'll be a giveaway of the books. I brought 3 of them with me tonight, so you all can decide how you want to figure out to share them. And we're excited about this program because we can really look at so much of our fauna around here in the gorge. And I think it's going to be a good time. We really appreciate always the
interest that we get from Cascade locks. So that's it.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Would council like the proclamation read out loud for the record?
Sure.
Proclamation of support for the 2024 Hood River County Youth Program, Beloved Beasts Fighting for Life in an Age of Extinction by Michelle Nyhouse. Whereas the Friends of the Hood River County Library have organized the Hood River County Reads Program to support reading books and discussing ideas among all members of our community. And whereas Hood River County Reads has been endorsed, supported, and financially assisted by local schools, businesses, and organizations, as well as the Hood River County Library Foundation, Star Seed Foundation, Hood River County Education Foundation, Friends of the Hood River County Library, Hood River Cultural Trust, Forest Community Foundation, Hood River Valley LEOS, and generous individuals. And whereas the city of Cascade Locks celebrates the history and richness of our Northwestern people, and whereas the selection of Beloved Beasts Fighting for the Life in an Age of Extinction by local author Michelle Nyhouse, an acclaimed science journalist, gives Hood River the opportunity to engage in stories of the modern conservation movement through the lives and ideas of the people who built it, and explore the status of gorge wild creatures through the work and experiences of local conservation activists. And whereas the author Michelle Nyhouse presents to the Hood River community, and whereas over 700 copies of The Love Beast will be distributed so that it can be read and discussed at multiple venues throughout the county. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the city of Cascade Locks establish March 2nd to April 14th as Hood River County Reads, adopted this 12th day of February 2020.
Thank you. That's all we have.
That's it.
Thank you.
I just didn't know if you voted.
What's that?
You don't vote on a proclamation.
No.
Okay.
Yes.
Thanks.
Do we need to-
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it says action item.
Yeah. Okay, well, we have a motion to approve the proclamation.
I move to approve the proclamation of support for the 2024 Hood River County Reads Program.
Can we edit it?
There's a, what did you want to add it?
You found a typo, I saw it as he was reading it.
It says give Hood River, sorry, and whereas, the fourth whereas, second line, science journalist gives Hood River the opportunity, can we say Hood River County? And in the next one down, whereas the author Michelle Nyhouse presents the Hood River community, can we say county?
Hood River County Community. I like that.
Absolutely. But I can get those changed then for the other proclamations that we put out. There's another one, as long as we're making those, excuse me. It's, there, see, 1, 2, 3, the fourth, whereas it says, through the love, where did it go?
Michelle Nyhouse and, it should be
That's the
and
one.
and.
That's the one, it's in the second line, yeah, it should be and. Wow. Okay.
That's easier reading.
Thank you very much.
Good practice there, good catch. Thank you.
County, right.
Do we want to amend our motion?
Sure. Don't we usually do the discussion after it's been moved and seconded, but that's okay. So I make a friendly amendment that we approve the proclamation of support for 2024 Hood River County Reads Program with the inclusion of county after Hood River twice and a spelling edit.
A second.
I got a motion to approve the proclamation to support the 2024 Hood River County Reads Program by Councilmember Emily Baker, seconded by Councilmember Keller. Discussion?
All right. Councilmember Emily Baker,
Aye.
Farrell,
Abstain.
Happy,
Aye.
Keller,
Aye.
Miller.
Aye. Motion passes. 6B. adoption resolution number 1498, financial management policy.
Okay, this action item was originally presented at the January 22nd, 2024 meeting, and tabled till today, February 12th, 2024. City council reviewed the current financial policy of the October 9th, 2023, and January 8th, 2024 council meetings. City staff presented recommended changes at both meetings. Attached to this report are the red line and clean versions of the updated financial policy. Listed below are the changes. Updating all financial officer references to finance departments throughout the entire document. Section 5, increasing staff expenditure limits from 1,000 to 10,000 for department heads, and from 2,500 to 25,000 for city administrator. Council approves all purchases over 25,000 outside an approved formal contract. City administrator is authorized to approve expenses over 25,000 in emergency situations. All expenses over 10,000 must be reported to council at the next council meeting. Purchase orders are required for all capital outlay asset improvement purchases outside an approved formal contract regardless of price. Free written bids will only be required for purchases over $25,000. Section 14, the requirement for phone bids or expenses between $750 and $2,000. Increase the requirement for written bids from $2,000 to $25,000. City administrator may request written bids under $25,000. Section 15, the requirement to contract with McCabe increases from 10,000 to 100,000. City administrator may hire McCabe for grants under 1,000 if it is necessary. And that's it.
1,011, we gotta make it for grant under 100,000.
Sorry, 100. Yeah.
All right, we have some public comment. Let's do it.
So I'm gonna be working off of the red line edition, sorry, that's wrong, I know, sorry, it's, whatever, but. When this was brought forward by the council, by the city administrator, whatever it was. He specifically said that these spending levels will only be used on budgeted items, however, this council and administration have, over time and time again, shown that unless it says specifically that in your, in your resolutions or your, it doesn't, it's left for your interpretation. So therefore, it needs to be clearly stated that these spending limits are for budgeted items only, although personally I feel, it's the city council's responsibility to know how and when the city administrator is spending the citizens' money and, being part of budget, I feel like it should continually be brought before you. This policy also needs to state clearly what happens when the city administrator needs to spend money on unforeseen expenses. And he did cover the emergency, but, and then also, on page 6 of the red line, the expenditure and authorization levels has been completely redlined. And it's my understanding that this was a recommendation made by the auditor for checks and balances. For example, if a PO purchase order was made for, say, let's say 3 transformers and only 2 showed up, the purchase order would stay open until it was rectified with the 3rd transformer, or the bill was changed to be for only 2. So there's no way to rectify that and keep track of it if there's no purchase orders. Let's see what else is in there. And also on purchase orders, it was reflected that how much remaining of that line item was available to the department heads. Also, I have a question on pages 4, 6, 10, and 11. It talks about there being a board, budgeting, like on page 10, in budgeting, the city council appointed committees, boards, maybe asked to assist. Do we have boards? I mean, I know this is old language brought over, but the only place that I could actually find that talks about a board is on page 6, where it says the city's contract review board rules. But do we even have a contract review board?
Yeah. Sorry.
It's the city council, okay, but. The board on pages, on 4 and 10 and 11, it doesn't even make sense, it seems like archaic wordage that just doesn't need to be there. And then also, I look at the title on page 11, under D quarterly reports. It says each quarter, either the city administrator, and then you, redlined finance officer, and put authorized designee, so I don't know if it needs to be city administrator / authorized designee, or city administrator or authorized designee. Because I did carry over to the cleanup version, but so the cleanup version just reads each quarterly, either the city administrator authorized designee will report to the committee boards, again, I don't know, they're just, the boards just seems to. Yeah, so just some, just some concerns. I think that the, number 1 on page 6 should remain, that there should be a purchase order, because then you know where the deficit is made, and there, I mean, it's clean, and it's recommended before you, I would assume before Jordan with our county firm, so, and please reconsider those options, thank you.
Motion?
If we move, and just I have a point of order, if we move and second it, then we can talk about some amendments.
Yeah.
Okay, so I move that we accept the adopted financial management policies adopted by City Council Resolution 1498.
Should adopt resolution 1498, or is passing by explanation of the policy. But a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Farrell. Discussion.
I would like to ask that we possibly, unless there's another reason from City Administrator Bennett, that we change boards to board, referring to the city council or council. I do know we have other committees such as Park and Rec in our documents, and we don't currently have a standing Park and Rec committee, so I guess my question to City Administrator Bennett is there some boilerplate language in governmental documents that you'd like to keep the word boards in there?
We don't have to,
Anybody else make a, that was well stated, and then I would like to hear about City Administrator Bennett. I appreciate we discussed in great detail why the limits went up to operate our city, but why not a purchase order? What is the trouble for that?
for a first order,
Yeah,
I mean, we certainly can, it's just, I wanted to keep it to capital assets. I mean, I don't think it needs to be used on every single little item used for operating expenses. But I mean, it's your guys' policy.
Well, it's a good point, because I didn't realize, after thinking about it, it makes sense, but I didn't realize at the time I was reading it that, yeah, what if a purchase order, I have worked at places where you go down, you check things, and this one's back ordered, and, you need something in front of you to let you know what's still coming and what isn't. Unless you have some other way of tracking that. If you have a whole bunch of things on a purchase order, and things were missing, what would you do? mean, you didn't have the purchase order. Right, just the paper that I need to call this person and follow up on my assistant, you know, that's.
Yeah.
I do see that we added, or the language was added on page 6. Purchase orders required for all expenditures that meet, as you said, capital outlay, capital asset, and capital improvement limits purchased outside an approved formal contract. So we would have the formal contract as a check and balance and follow up, or a purchase order. So I'm comfortable with that, now that I see that. And yet, if somebody else thought about those other expenses.
The way it was written before, it required that the purchase order be required for all purchases, essentially.
Honestly,
Yes, very interesting.
Yeah. I'm curious, yeah.
The way it is produced is purchase orders are required for all expenses except for normal daily expenses. So you do not have to do it for supplies, you do not have to do it for things like that, but when you're purchasing inventory, like transformers, and they don't send you all of them at one time. Yes, that is a capital asset, but it's inventory. You have to keep POs on that stuff. So basically, purchase orders are required, except for normal daily purchases or normal items.
Thank you, that clarifies, because I was curious, this seems like it covers them, but we're trying to like.
You don't do POs for that, guys, but it is for the other item.
With the example of transformers, and would this, would that be, under the way this is written now, would it require purchase orders?
yes. Okay.
So not a capital asset. It is inventory. Inventory.
Capital improvement seems like a capital improvement to me, which fit.
Yeah, we can put it in, if there's an expense limit you guys want, I mean. I guess what is considered, where's the line between routine expenses and requiring a vehicle?
Why did we remove that language?
Let it work, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, and I honestly don't even know the last time we did a vehicle.
Yeah.
I have,
The finance, I mean, part of this also is you want to have financial guidelines that we follow,
correct,
right? And if we have these required, we're not following it, that's the problem.
correct.
So with the way that it was written before, can you give us examples of situations where it sort of would burdensome to complete?
I don't know, person, but I don't think it's necessary, I mean, a lot of the. Equipment for electrical department is getting more expensive, but it's the routine stuff we need to do a job.
So how's it, with the example of the transformers, the product, the high value, inventory item for your supply in the electrical department. We order that, we're not billed right away, is that right?
Right.
Yeah, that's 30 years. That's it.
You know, put a list on it.
We have terms based on our individual vendors, and so we could be billed at a time that's completely separate from what that item is received. And that's why a purchase order is beneficial, because we can make sure that we actually did receive.
Yeah.
Would it be under item 2, purchase orders on page 6? Purchase orders are required for all expenditures that meet capital outlay, capital asset, capital improvement limits. Is there something we could add to that? Inventory costing greater than, or? I don't. Does anybody have a suggestion that would satisfy that?
I'm not sure I understand the statement, purchase orders are required for all expenditures of meeting capital outlay, capital asset, and capital improvement limits purchased outside of approved formal contract. What does that mean, capital improvement? What's the word limits in there for, what's that information?
I guess maybe definitions, if we letter word in limits, it has capital, outlay, capital asset, capital improvements defined in this document. Back on.
Page 7. Is, intangible capital asset. That's intangible. And I'm sorry, page 6 and 7.
I do agree that I think there should be some check and balance to make sure that what order you actually get. Yes.
Mr. Bennett, what's the current process?
Right now, the department head orders it, and then they're the one to keep track of it, whether they got their items that they ordered or not.
I mean, like, I need a little more detail than that, like, I get a quote, I approve this quote, I put that order, like, what? I mean. I guess I'm coming from, my only experience with purchase orders is through my position as a head softball coach and ordering uniforms and lots of essential things, and this was the way that I could go back to the vendor and say, I ordered these things, here's the purchase order, reference purchase order number, and like. I guess I don't understand why we're not doing that, it seems essential.
Yeah, and at this moment, that structure is not being used. And I said, it's the department heads and their contacts with their vendors.
Go ahead, Councilor. Emily Baker, please.
Thanks. On page 6, it says a capital asset be an item of system component that costs more than 3,000 and have a life more than 1 year. And the intangible have an individual cost of more than 5,000, have a life of more than 5 years. So it looks like we have some definitions that might meet it, and maybe we want that to be a lesser amount of money. Property, plant, equipment, and infrastructure assets. Easements, water rights, patents, internally generated computer software, etc. So I can't think of anything that isn't property, plant, equipment, and infrastructure assets. Can you? Supplies?
Sorry, is it?
Councilor
So it's up to the department heads to keep an inventory of what they have? And like, how do they check it against, I guess, what's the checks and balances for maintaining their order or their
So,
inventory?
yeah, at this point, it's their own system that they're using. I currently don't have anything in place.
So something that could come up, we're very, very small, and there's some cross-training and stuff going along, I hope. And one thing that the purchase orders allow us is, let's say a department head, God forbid, gets in a car accident, is in the hospital, someone else has to fill in. They'll have those purchase orders in front of them to be able to take over and not have to guess or scramble to go count something. It's an important thing to have, it is, and it's your security against the vendor. It's almost like a contract, to assure that what you have ordered is what you get.
Seems like there's a lot of, I feel like there's a lot of feeling that we'd like to see purchase orders used in the city. Is that consensus here? Councilor Miller?
Yeah, I want to bring up, this is beyond what you guys are talking about. We had pushed this back because we had not had a audit completed yet. We still don't have an audit completed yet. And I'm definitely uncomfortable with these amounts of raises until we get that audit. Now, that's where I'm sitting.
So kind of two separate issues. We have one about the audit and the second one about the POs. I guess, before we move on to the audit, I guess I'd like to hear, is a consensus from council, we'd like to see language added requiring use of purchase orders for any purchases that are non-routine expenses.
Is that an amendment to the language in two A? So, because two A, even though one purchase order was scratched out, it's being added to two A on page 6.
That's right, it's, one is to be classified as expenditure and authorization levels. And then we've got the expenditure level and a third author position. And then we move down to the 2, which is about purchase orders, so we're asking for an amendment to A. Requiring these purchase orders for all expenditures that are not purchases, is that correct?
That are not what?
Routine expenses. Because of the copper, paper, pens, pencils.
Do we, okay, all purchase order covered all expenditures that meet capital outlay, capital asset, and capital improvement limits. Purchase outside of a formal contract. Because those are already at 3,000 and 5,000 for all expenditures. I suppose, and then so we use some of the language from the top that says for all except routine formal contracts approved by the city council outside of an approved formal contract and routine purchases. We keep that routine purchases, i.e. office supplies, restaurant supplies, village bills.
I think is there any why we wouldn't just remove the strike group or from language or all pieces of the first order, why wouldn't you just restate all of that under 2A?
For all expenditures of the formal contracts. I want to understand if from City Administrator Bennett, because I know we have been advised to let our staff do their job, including the departments that are running the city. Are the words capital outlay, capital asset, and capital improvement? They are important because they are defined in this financial management policy as well. So I like that they are added. Because they are defined. But purchase orders that cover all expenditures that we have limits percent. What kind of purchase are you thinking would happen this council that needs a purchase order that doesn't meet capital asset, capital outlay, or capital improvement limits?
Reconciliation of bills and law. I think. I feel like there's a reason why we have purchase orders and they provide all checks and balances like we already discussed. And I would recommend that we have a purchase order process.
Is there, City Administrator Bennett, you're saying that sometimes the departments aren't doing the purchase orders is it because so many, they would need to buy things so often? Like, that isn't a routine purchase?
Say that again.
I guess in all cases, if we went back to the old language, in all cases, a purchase order is required for all expenditures. Can we say under a certain amount? Is that the reason they're not getting all done, or,
I just think it's been out of practice.
okay?
Yeah, yeah, city has been very calm with on policies.
We were looking through our register from the last month, all the stuff is repeat.
Yeah.
I don't see anything in there like this jumping out and like this require a PO. So it's a matter of just bringing people into doing a policy and then posting it, right? I think there's a reason why it was added in there, and I think it was really good that it was brought up. And I feel like council's direction is to bring that language back.
Yeah.
To another point as far as we were suggesting that we hold off on making any changes to the policy until after our audit is complete.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with, raising these amounts until we get our audit in. Where we're at.
I don't think we're passing this tonight, are we?
It was,
Yes. But then we're having a discussion, and I think we all want to see language about purchase orders next, so what I was going to suggest is perhaps we table this vote until we see that amendment drafted, so we can read it.
And then there's that quarterly reports where it says each quarter, either the city administrator, or it says there needs to be an or a slash or something.
Some kind of draft policy.
yeah, or,
It should be like-
What do y'all suggest? You guys all right with that? Table on this?
I would just like to ask City Administrator Bennett, what is there a negative to some purchasing that needs to happen? We've been putting this off, and,
No,
okay, then I'm for tabling.
We're going to discuss some more at that time, so I don't know.
Oh, sure, no, I think let's get all the discussion out now, that we can actually vote on this next time.
What's stuck in my mind, reading through them, is how do we know if we're getting a good or fair deal locally if we don't have bids? So if we go with someone locally, Coburn Electric, just take that out of the blue. How are we gonna know if he's giving us a good deal if we haven't accepted bids from anybody else? There's no comparison in there.
What page are you looking at?
I'm just looking at in general where, the city administrator may request written bids under 25,000, so it's his choice. But how is he, if he doesn't accept the bids, how is he gonna know if we're getting a good deal? And when word gets out that we're not requiring bids, what's to stop the company from inflating their charges if we're not checks and balances and other companies?
To your question, I can understand this correctly, is you said that if we have a priority for purchasing locally and we're not requiring bids, we could eventually have local contractors that are exploiting that and charging us more.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that hard to get bids, I mean, it's, you just kind of have to plan ahead. And if it's something that's an emergency, then that falls in the emergency clause, so. You know, it's kind of another protection thing, it protects you if you have 3 bids, then you've got comparison, I mean, look at it, when we were trying to hire people for. Different things that have come up this last year, we had some bids that were like 5 times the amount of what other people were. So, but I would not have known that if you hadn't gotten the bids from the other people. So, yeah, but that's my feeling, I'm not.
So your hesitation was that we are limited, raising that limit to $25,000 before we require rewritten bids. So things that a lot of purchases fall into that $25,000, and we could be just getting, be paying too much.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yep, so on page 11 of the old document with the strikeouts, looks like expenditures between, we used to say between 750 and 2,000 required 3 telephone bids. And this one, do we have anything about telephone bids in the new language?
No,
Is that an odd thing, City Administrator Bennett, if we were to change it from 25,000 to a number somewhere between 2,000 and 25,000, might meet some of the needs that Councilman Farrell indicated, but is there any benefit to the telephone bids? I mean, are they written anyway?
I'm trying to get the benefit of requiring phone quotes. I guess
No, it
that's
says
saying.
in here, yes, previously we had 3 telephone bids. And then between 750 to 2,000. And then above, I just don't, does anybody give a telephone bid anymore?
Yeah, it depends on what you're asking for, yeah.
Does that benefit you to have the ability to listen to 3 telephone bids, or do you prefer to see them in writing anyway?
Well, I mean, I guess in my position, I wouldn't be the one to get telephone bids, it would be the departments. And I guess, at least in my mind, assume they would do their due diligence and find the best option for their department. But again, anything over 25,000 would be a written bid. The written quote.
So does this body want to have anything about telephone bids? If you look at the old language on page 11,
Yeah, again, this is your guys' document, if you want our policies to require telephone bids, we can certainly keep it.
Would you come up with the numbers, like, where are these numbers from?
I reached out to probably 2,000 different city managers to see what their numbers were at, and these are actually on the low end. There are other cities smaller than us, and city manager have 150.
Can you give more specific, which cities did you get these numbers from?
I talked to the River, I talked to the Dalles, Wood Village, Moppin, a lot of them in our area, a lot of them I looked at other, of their plans, also, just kind of all over the state.
And I know Linda's came up before, one of the questions we had was kind of in situations where we've approved purchases for situations where we should have been having council approval, but we didn't follow the policy. I mean, $2,000 doesn't seem like very much money.
Yeah.
And there's situations that you can think of where you've been held up because you require getting approved in bids because of this requirement.
That I've been on that.
What about departments?
Not that I've really sold. I do take that back, when we were doing looking at buying the truck, that was approved on the course. They were having difficulty getting a third written bid for the box, it took them several months to get back. From one of the companies. That's the only one I have. But it was, that's $50,000, so it would have been over the threshold.
so sometimes it's hard to get that third bid.
Yeah, it depends on what you're trying to get.
I would, Councilman Farrell or others, what are your thoughts on expenditures between, using some of the old language and the new language, expenditures between $2,000 and $10,000 require 3 telephone bids, expenditures above $10,000 require 3 written bids? So we've reduced it somewhat, and we've added back in the 3 telephone bids.
Yes, sorry.
Go ahead.
I bet you anything the department has to do with telephone bids,
They all are.
yeah, so there's no reason to take it out, I mean, they're doing it, because they know they need to find out what a good deal is, and yeah. So they're already doing it, so I don't think we need to strike it, as far as the written bids. Yeah, that would be, I would like to lower the number. From 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. 25,0 least have telephone bids in there, period, so. You may request written bids under 25,000, but 3 telephone bids will need to be done, or something like that.
So what you're proposing is leave the language in there about free telephone bids. Do you have a suggested dollar amount you'd like to see?
For the telephone bids, I would say
Currently, Baker is suggesting 2,000 to 10,000.
I would say like 5,000, above 5,000. I mean, 2,000 is really super low
Okay,
right now. That would just be my guess, I don't think it has to be out.
To your point, and I think you're absolutely right, the department has a limited amount of money they have to spend, and they want to make that money go as far as possible. So they're gonna be calling around and trying to get the best deal they possibly can. I think that makes a lot of sense, leave it in there, while we're doing it. Do you have any thoughts on the written bids and the limits for, telephone bids?
No, I mean. I wanna get back to checks and balances and making sure that if this is what we're doing, then let's do it, and then, like.
So, I think, for 14A, what's been recommended is an amendment to require 3 telephone bids if the purchase is above $5,000 and below. What was the, limit for the written estimates, or written bids?
I defer to this body, I suggested 10,000, but if city administrator Bennett did his homework and here's that 25,000 is a low amount for cities, then I defer to this body for what you're comfortable with.
Well, then so leave it at 25,000, but anything above 5,000 to 25,000 requires 3 telephone bids.
Okay.
And anything above 25,000 requires 3 written bids. And then as far as the preference to local, purchasing locally, it's sort of, it's making a public statement that we're gonna try to do business with local companies, but we're still gonna be shopping. But I think if we had 2 bids that were exactly, very similar in price, and one of them was a local company, and one of them, we're gonna give a preference to the local company.
Correct.
And I guess if there was a situation, like a very, very odd part where only 2 companies had it, then that would just be something that they would need to either bring to CA Bennett, or if it was something you were buying, that you just spell it out to council, say, sorry, but there was only 2 companies that even do this. And then we'll go from there.
I agree, and I think that it's like the truck box, if we've got 2 bids and we're struggling to get a third one, I prefer that they come to us and say,
Let's do it.
let's not wait, let's have a discussion on it, not skirt the policy either.
Do we need to build language in there for that exception? Like, we need to seek out 3 bids? And receive, and so, because we may not get it, you're right. I don't know, do we need that exceptional language in there?
Could have language about a good faith effort to require 3 quotes for bids.
And then there's some discussion about board versus council, with that council's direction to remove the word board and replace that with council.
Expense recommendation by committee.
What were you saying, Councilman Keller?
Yeah, I said that, sorry, I thought that's what we were doing.
Okay.
We get there. That was on page, the first one's on page 4. Under, in the red line, under budget priorities. Annually in January, you will staff boards and commissions. So that should committee instead of
Commissions,
board, or instead of boards.
isn't it, city council?
Yeah.
Expense recommendations by committee
staff, city council and committees.
Well, so this is the city council will meet with staff, boards,
Oh, I got you.
Right.
there's, you don't have boards.
Yeah, so it's removing boards.
Right. Well. Somewhere in there it says all committees, boards, commissions and task forces. I think this is boilerplate language that is putting into place that in case we did have a task force. Or a board. And I don't know if elsewhere in our documents it talks about when the mayor might appoint a board or not. Is the word board elsewhere in our documents?
I thought it was in the financial. Said city council serves as the board.
What page?
Budget review system. Section
City
3,
council facilitating the decision making. Officer. Have you taken this to the attorney? City Administrator Bennett? I don't want to remove so much language that then in 2 years, when we appoint a task force to finance the phase 2 of the fire department, we have to re-add the word task force. to that.
But like I sent it to nobody, it's the can't remember.
Okay.
I usually send it everything.
sounds like. There's consensus that we'd like to remove the word board from the financial document. But we want to do our research to make sure that it's not going to have problems down the road, is that right? Councilmember Everly Baker?
Yeah,
Is that your
but
concern?
city council appointed committees, boards may be asked to assist in developing the annual budget for the portion of the budget that most directly affects the committee or board. That's page 10. For example, tourism committee may be asked to assist. So I'm beginning to understand it's city committees, boards and task forces do not have authority to make or authorize any expenditure to obligate the city for payment. These groups are established by the city council and can only make recommendations to the city in carrying out their assigned responsibilities. So looking at the definition on page 10 under section 13, I am not afraid of leaving that language in there. Because we may appoint a board or task force and task forces are often used in cities for a certain task. You are tasked with, we may, who knows, with this planning grant we get, have a grant, a planning task force. So personally, I don't like changing government documents. I believe the language is in there for a reason, and now that it's defined, we look at that if we establish these groups, then we may listen to them, right? Throughout,
So you're saying leave boards,
yeah, now that I read section 13 again.
any other thoughts on that?
Usually we just have committees. I mean, we have a temporary, we have temporary meeting, I've been here. I mean, you've been here longer than us, we've never had a board for the task force. So, I mean,
So then I guess, what do you say we do a little research on whether or not we want to leave that language in there? What do you think about that? Shaking your head, nodding, thinking.
Oh, I don't see the point of it.
So some people want to get rid of it, some people are concerned about removing it, and I guess that's why I'm suggesting that perhaps, so we can move on. That we look at the potential ramifications of removing that language that seems unnecessary. Would that cause more problems? Yes.
Well, the sentence that got me is the city council is the final decision maker for all matters affecting city government in Cascade lots. And that's referring to committees, boards and task force. So council in that paragraph is not the board. So by substituting, we're changing something. Yeah, I'd like to know what.
Why?
Yeah,
Yeah. Because at one hand, we were thinking that board reported to us, but.
Yeah,
the language of the
that's
Document is
true.
talking about board reporting to the city council.
yeah,
Which would suggest that perhaps it's a boilerplate language of within the document that doesn't say.
right.
And or if it's part of our plethora of ordinances that talks about task forces and boards. And therefore it was included in this language. So it could take some time for the attorney to look through all of that. So I don't see the harm in it because it is just a name for something that we might choose to create.
I think that's a good point, and that may very well be the finding from our city administrator, who does a little more research on the subject. Anything else on this before we move on? We have a motion and been seconded. Do we want to put this to a vote, or are we,
I am happy to did I make the motion?
Yes.
To withdraw the motion and table it for another time after we have made some of these changes and done a little research.
it's a good discussion though, I think. Anything else to add before we,
I'll second that.
To withdraw it?
we have a motion to withdraw, the motion has been seconded, any discussion? All right,
Councilmember Emily Baker.
We're voting to withdraw the motion?
I don't think we need to vote on it.
I don't think we do. I didn't go through it, yeah. I guess my only question is, when do we think the auditing will be done?
At this point, it's February, probably at least a couple more months, and that's just for the 21-22 audit. I actually met with our now CFO, contracted CFO, he's gonna button up getting some stuff to our auditors this week or next week. Then they can start and finalize the field work. Instead of rolling into the next audit, he's gonna switch to and have to put together the budget. And then once that is done, turn focus back to us. So I wanna make sure I have the support and council gets the, and accurate audit, or not audit, but a well-developed budget.
I think it'd be easier for me to vote on our new financial management policy if we know the areas where we're struggling, where it doesn't apply. So I think it's important that we're following the policy of this current group. All right. 6C, approval of loan system for council members.
Yeah, this is an item that was originally presented January 22nd, so it was today, February 12th. Council asked the administrator to run the research and phone system for the council members so they could not have to use their personal phone. When communicating with constituents, Administrator Bennett presented a quote from our current phone company. Their report January 8th, attached to discussion and approval of quotes from America's Phone Guys with separate phone numbers for each council member. Each council member would need to download the GoToMeeting app on their phones to use the new city number. This is $20 per line per month, plus a flat fee to set it up.
And we have, Ms. Pruitt, yes.
Exercise. The only thing I wanna say is that, I mean, this is $22.29 a month, and I mean, that's about, almost, it's $1,872 a year for each city councilor. Is this considered a gift? I mean, because you have to make a report at the end of each year on any gifts over $50. I don't know if this qualifies as the citizens are paying for this for the city for the city council members. I don't know, and then there's always that conflict of you're voting on something to approve something for yourself. And, you know, kind of poses a bit of a conflict of interest, and that's always, a question that we've always had in the past on these sorts of things. I mean, because you have to vote on, or, you know, rate increases or decreases, and they affect you, but this, I mean, this is a pretty significant amount that you'd be voting for yourself, and I just, I don't know if this has been put through the city attorney to make sure that this doesn't, count as a gift. I mean, because citizens are paying for it. So, just something to consider.
Thank you. All right, we got a motion. All right, looks like we got a motion. Move on to 6D. Community opposed?
Okay. Committee appointments, we currently have two vacancies in tourism, 2 vacancies in budget. We're now back to 2 vacancies for the charter review committee. Unfortunately, Mary Kelly Klein had to resign from the charter committee. So we're back to 2 vacancies, and we have 1 for architectural review. Up for appointment tonight, we have 1 for the budget committee, Bernard Seeger. His application, is in the packet for review.
I motion to approve the appointment of Bernard Seeger to the budget committee.
I second motion.
Motion by Mr. Keller, and second by Emily Baker. Discussion, thank you. Any discussion?
So it was the backside where his personal information was.
Yeah.
Apologies.
I didn't notice that, thank you.
That's all.
Okay. No other discussion? We vote.
Councilmember Emily Baker,
Aye.
Farrell,
Aye.
Happy,
Aye.
Keller,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Motion passes. And moving on to 7A.
There are no committee reports.
Right, 7B, we crossed that off, so moving on to 7C, we get to close the GFA report from every lots.
Yeah, so my apologies, the draft for tonight meetings, I did not make it in the original packet, got an email out this morning. My apologies for that. The requirements, again, move on, this is the week, I'll agree to the requirement of EDA grant is a binding agreement between the city and the port to ensure project meets its intended purpose of the lighting projects. And IDA between the city and the port will meet binding agreement requirements. The intended purpose of the project is to provide sufficient power to the port's business for economic development. And the life of the project is 20 years. Council reviewed the first draft at the January 22nd, 24 meeting and provided feedback to Commissioner Bennett. With the updated draft, sent to the city attorney, Cleveland for legal review. He did come back and said it was fine. Attached with the current EPA and the updated IGA. I've also sent a copy over to the court for review of this update. I've not heard back.
And 7C.
My point was that he doesn't have the current one in here, so hopefully that can get added, it doesn't addendum.
it's on the website.
Yeah, there's one, yeah, apologies.
I think we can discuss it, 'cause
And the motion.
there's no.
There's no-
Okay, so it's not redlined, but I see, section 3 was, where I was worried that if we put out the agreement, we would have to pay 110,000, so I do see some wording in there that, got changed. Not refunded to the port, because the agreement is terminated.
And I did see the section I was concerned about that to, provide sufficient power to the port and sufficient power to the city's, growth as well. So thank you.
Where was that?
I read it earlier. I'll try to find it.
Section 1A.
Section 1A.
Yeah, also did add section C or section 1C, power capacity, both parties agree that any business development. In the business are requesting over 10 megawatts of power must provide their own transformer service to prevent overburden of the city's electricity.
We got a little typo there. One to the paragraph C, must provide, not provider.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
That's pretty much the three changes. I didn't see it till I came to here, so.
Any other changes that you all see?
Is council comfortable moving forward with reports? I mean, again, this isn't our, it's not our agreement, it's the city's and the forces, they have to agree to it as well, we can't really force them upon it.
So they may come back with amendments.
They come back with their own amendments. So is council comfortable moving forward with this version?
Thank you.
Thank you.
7D, the administrative report.
All right, so I asked our consultant testimony, a lot of these testimonials provide the most up-to-date reports possible, they wouldn't be in the package, she sent me one over the weekend, we had a very big week. Last week with meetings with, Senator Bonham, Senator Steiner, and one of the members in, Philadelphia, so you're going to read her report. Okay, city council law, 2024 state legislative request. February 11, 2024. The state economists presented the revenue forecast showing the legislature has another $559 million to spend on top of what they had expected. Meaning there is an additional $1.7 billion in the 2-year budget that they can allocate as they see fit. This is the revenue forecast the legislature will use when allocating additional dollars, which is good news for organizations seeking funding requests this session. Over the past couple of weeks, City Administrator George Bennett and I have met with a few key legislators to provide our pitch on why the state should cover the cost of moving the power lines impacted by the McCord Creek Bridge Replacement Project in I-84. First, we had a virtual meeting with Representative Jeff Helfrich and staff to share more details on our latest version of the request. He was familiar with the ask, but this gave us an opportunity to provide more details and our plan for navigating the halls of Salem. He was in the car and drove past the area of power lines in question. He understood the city's ask and appeared support. He noted all other regional priorities that they also need funding, including Bridge of the Gods and a local navigation / rehabilitation center. Next, we met with Senator Daniel Bonham in his office at the state capitol. He and his staff gave us an extra long meeting to bring him up to speed on the issue and the city's request of the legislature. He understood the problem and was supportive of our plea for state funding. Finally, I met with Senator Elizabeth Steiner, who was the co-chair of the Ways and Means and makes ultimate funding decisions with her co-chair, Representative Tana Sanchez. Senator Steiner was already familiar with the project and the request. She asked a couple of clarifying questions and expressed understanding for the city's ask. She was not able to make promises. In addition to the meeting above, I have spoken with ODOT to make them aware of the request. After these initial meetings, I believe we are on the right track toward potential success in securing the funding during the short session. Of course, a variety of factors could still impact the ask, but at this point, we've gotten some positive initial feedback from some of the most crucial individuals who will be involved in this. And that's it. And to Denise's original request, I think it was Denise's, she really tried to get an answer as soon as possible. If this was even an option for us, and to, she knows this is not an easy expense for us to do. So she did everything she could in this first week to figure out whether this is really a go or no go on continuing on for the next month. And everything we've heard sounds like this is possible. Helfrich, again, great support, didn't promise anything. Senator Bonham, pretty much was baffled as why this is a request. He's in agreement with council about she paying this, not us. And I didn't participate in the Senator Stanger meeting, but she seemed supportive as well, so. We were booked for a 15-minute meeting with Senator Bonham, that ended up being 45 minutes. It was fantastic.
And I know that one of the other lobbyist groups was talking about doing their agency lobbying to try to get vote out just to pay for it. Has she tried to vote out directly?
Tax?
Yes.
Yeah, no, she's working her channel on ODOT, well, she's met with their lobbyist, I don't know who else she's talking to, but she's met with ODOT.
She's trying to get them.
Yeah.
Pay for it.
Exactly, yeah, she's working every.
Yes.
Can I ask a question? What is the, just out of curiosity, local navigation and rehabilitation center, what?
I think that's something that Hood River, Representative Telfrich mentioned it, and I want to say it had like a $40 million price tag. I could be way off, but it was one of his priorities, I think, for Hood River.
It's Dallas.
Maybe it's the house, it's one of those two.
Yeah, they have that. What motel they converted,
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
think that's what it
Oh,
is.
yeah, thank you. Senator Bond did mention he has one other, I guess at the top of his list, capital improvement request, the city of Sandy needs their water system improved. That's at the top of his list, and we are number 2 or 1A on his list.
Who that's their mom?
Senator Bond, yep, his district actually goes all the way into Gresham. Any more questions on that? I've asked her to do, written updates, so hopefully the next one is going to have more good information. 4-day work week and employee handbook. Per council's request, we are taking feedback from community on our updated city hall operations. We have put the question on the newsletter, on the utility bills, and a link to a survey online. I plan to present council, to council the March 11th meeting results of the survey, feedback from staff, and an updated handbook. Our handbook has not been reviewed or updated since January 2020. A lot has changed in employment law since January 2020. The handbook will have specific language referring to updated operation hours. By updating the handbook, it will make the new hours permanent. I'm hoping to have a draft to council at the February 26th meeting for council to review. If council chooses not to adopt the new hours, I do recommend council approve an updated handbook with the old hours, because a lot has changed in employment law. Any questions on that? Okay. County clerk position. The county clerk position is vacant, and the vacancy is a personnel matter. The position will stay vacant for now. We're 7 months into the fiscal year, and I have concerns about our general administration budget, particularly IT services and accounting services being more expensive than expected. The workload will be distributed across city hall staff. Staff is comfortable with this additional duties. The future of the county position will be decided during this upcoming budget cycle. Charter Review Committee, the Charter Review Committee will be holding their first meeting on Thursday, February 15th. Councilor Farrell pointed this out, our May 27th, 2024 council meeting is actually on Memorial Day. So this council wished to reschedule that meeting.
I think in the past, they just skipped it, but let's see what Brian should reschedule.
I don't remember what we did last year.
I think we got time, I think we should wait and see the.
Okay.
Rest of our council here.
Right.
Comes out, it might have a little bit closer to the date.
One thing, the court has hired John Morgan of the Schmidt Institute to host a planning class on March 16th here in town. And they are trying to determine what kind of expectations and number of attendees will be there in the building room. So they are asking which council members plan to be in attendance for that. It is it is March 16th from 9 AM to 1.
Which is the day before our second
Oh, yeah.
day that we got set aside for goal setting.
So I don't need an answer tonight, just if you guys could, council could let me know if any of you plan to attend, I can pass it on before.
I'll go.
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, just email me and I'll let the board know. Okay, that's all I got.
As you know, you want to start these off with some of the comments?
I don't even know what to do. I feel like we have another hour and a half to go.
I know, this is weird.
I guess I wasn't even prepared to talk, but I really want to say thank you to Ms. Pruitt in pointing out the flaws in our financial policy. That really, I value that. And then I'm a huge advocate of the Hood River County REITs. I've read, I don't know how many in a row. I couldn't read the fire one. There was one about a wildfire a couple of years ago. I couldn't read that one, but, all the books have been great. This is gonna be, I'm excited to read this one, so. That's all, thank you.
Thank you, and again, thank you for the people that are speaking up, Tiffany, for your comments. And Bonnie from the library, I want to acknowledge that it's Black History Month and it's celebrated every year in America in February, time to acknowledge and celebrate the heritage, culture, and accomplishments of those who identify as Black and are African American, while also recognizing the ongoing struggles faced within these communities in the United States. And I want to say to Cascade Locks, I'm glad to see more ethnic and racial diversity joining our committees, and hoping that everybody feels welcome and that we can be welcoming to the diversity in our community. And I know the library has special book lists and at the Hood River County Library, as well as many, and possibly some activities I didn't see to celebrate Black History Month. I wanted to also bring up the fact that while our tech expenses are expensive, it seems in the budget, our city webpage really does need to be working. We have to have billable committee forms, we have to not have the issues, and I don't know if that's our in-office, if we need somebody to be taking the tech training for the new tech that was put in here, or do we still contract that out? Because that can't happen when people are clicking on and it's not going to the minutes. It leaves this sense of mistrust, I think. And so I don't know if that's something we need to discuss in our budget. And it's just, to me, very important that our city webpage is working. And reports are there, people can access it, and eventually we'll be adding more, more things on the calendar and things and other things like that. I wanted to point out, because I've talked a lot about the rare interns, and that there's a deadline coming again. I've made a report last year, but I did have a nice discussion with City Administrator Bennett about our new planning grant we received. And it sounds like Amanda Ferguson, University of Oregon, that is all well organized as to how that is operating, so we wouldn't need a rare intern for this planning grant, because that's one that I had heard of in the past would be useful, possibly next year to implement some of the things. But I did share some rare intern news with the port, and they are considering, it takes money to get a rare intern, you have to pay for it, and you have to have a reason that you want them, and so I just want to bring that up because I've mentioned it in the past. And I think that is all. I do still, according to our documents and to set the good standard, I loved the onboarding packet that the tourism committee shared for their committee as a model to other committees. And I still request that committees would do even just a short report after they have a meeting, as it's in our documents, to say we met or we didn't meet, we're planning to meet next month. So I'm just encouraging our committees to do a quick report for council, as in our committee documents. And I think that's all.
We had some good conversations tonight, it was great. Thanking everyone who participated with that, including the counselors. I also wanted to, thank the Hood River County Reads program. I just had a little bit of, I read a lot of reviews on it, and there I had some questions, and I just felt uncomfortable voting for something I haven't read. It was nothing against anybody personally. Also, in case our staff doesn't know, we might be getting a storm coming in Wednesday night, okay? So I figured you guys were on that. And then speaking of the library, our Hood River County Library has wanted me to make sure that the office here has these resource guides. If you want to take these, and then if anybody here would like one, you can definitely come get one when you're all finished. And I think that's it.
Okay, I like to thank staff for all their hard work in putting all this together for us. And it was a great meeting, nobody had to correct me for anything.
It's not over.
That's about all I have.
And I echoing some of the other comments that are made, thank you, Ms. Pruitt, for your comments on the financial management policy, and I really wanted to say thank you to Jordan for going through that and drafting those changes. And I think that there was really good discussion we had around that topic, especially on the purchase orders and creating a document that we can actually really follow, that's really important. And I wanted to say, I wholeheartedly agree with your comments about that website. I've been holding off on commenting on this, just because I feel like it's gonna come up as we're talking about our goals for 2024, 2025, especially the related strategic plan. We've had some more discussions, strategic plan about, creating avenues of communication between the public and city staff and city council. And trust is one of those issues that we need to, we've obviously seen some challenges there, and I think that you're absolutely right that our website is working, it just makes people think maybe we're purposely hiding information, so. I don't think that's the case, but I can see how we perceive that way. And I think I did see, we had some conversations kind of offline about using our current company to revamp our website, and we got a quote from somebody else, but it hasn't really been something that we brought to council yet, 'cause we're still very intro stages of having that conversation. But I imagine we're gonna have more discussion about that as we talk about our goals for the next year. I think it's something that we should slow hanging fruit, and it's really kind of a foundational piece that needs to be there for the city to operate. And that's all I got. So I guess we're gonna move into executive session, and I believe we're just the discussion of exempt public records under ORS 192.660. So section 2. Right, yes. And
Vote to close this.
No, we have to.
Right, do the executive session first.
yeah.